Let's talk a little more about journaling, because journaling is a great way to plan for coping. It's an excellent tie-in to the story of Edith Finch, because she keeps a journal. There'll be many opportunities to compare and contrast how your students use their journal with how Edith uses hers. Thinking and journaling about coping plans is a wonderful life skill. It's often said that thinking is acting in rehearsal. So journals help our evolving adolescents to be a bit more reflective and proactive about what they can be in control of. I want to be clear, not everyone finds written language the best way to communicate their inner world. For some kids, all the language protocols are impediments to them getting out their thoughts. So for some kids, we recommend options instead of just going to write right away. For instance, they might want to talk to a peer first before they begin writing, and then share their writing with their peers. They might want to make a list instead of writing in prose. They might want to make a line drawing. They might want to use a pie graph to chart the different sections of themselves and how they work with each other. The point here is that we want students to begin to understand through a reflective process who they are and how they can make sense of their world, to recognize and honor that they have private thoughts and have autonomy and control over the ways and amounts they will share those thoughts, which is a major aspect of teaching students the writing process, which is a continual consideration of which thoughts to share in which way in first drafts and subsequent edits. And also, let's talk about giving prompts for journaling, because you need to give more than one. For instance, here's something you might say to your students. We've looked at a lot of topics in the Museum of Me, and for some of the topics, you might have a concern. So some of you may want to note in your journal which of these topics raise a concern, and write a couple of ways you want to deal with them and cope with them as we go along. Some of you may not anticipate any of the topics in Edith Finch concerning you. So you might want to write about situations outside of this where you've coped with things in your life and what you've learned about how you cope. Or you might pick one of the characters in Edith Finch and suggest how that character could have coped better with their feelings. When the students write, they can then share their ideas with their study buddy, either without having to write first or after they've had time to think and write. And always think time first. Some students may really appreciate the option to think from a theoretical and general perspective versus using their own life experiences. They can feel a little raw for students. So in addition, you can have a whole class discussion about how human beings in general cope with stress. How humans and other animals seem to be the same and different in coping with stress. For instance, kids have dogs. They might talk about how their dogs and cats seem to manage thunderstorms and how they've managed loud noises in their lives. And how could we build a school, theoretically, that did a better job reducing the stress students feel? Starting from the general and going and theoretical back to the personal can help students identify the elements of a safe classroom without revealing their personal experiences. Let's imagine, class, that this character were in our class, was a student in our class. What rules would we need for everyone to feel safe? And what backup plans could we put in place for when our plans weren't enough? And then let's look at our actual classroom agreements. Would they work? Do they work for us in these ways? Let's think about theories from psychology, sociology, and child development. For instance, in what ways are kindergarteners and high school students the same and different when it comes to what they need from their teachers and their peers? Does our class match you guys developmentally? Are we still treating you like kindergarten students? Are we doing a good job with saying, here's who we are now, and this is what we need from our teachers and our peers?